This is their own maps, their own information. So it tells me that this tower site proposed at 7 Long Meadow Road is the wrong site. They need to look at something, town-owned land in the northeast corner. I just looked a little bit this afternoon, and there's about 100 acres of town-owned land up there. Various different, there's CL&P, well, First Light land, town-owned land, there are vacant lots that the town owns. So there's more available land up there. It doesn't have to be in the vicinity of the high school or you know, what I refer to as our Central Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Gail Archer, 20 Long Meadow Hill Road. Mainly, I just wanted to ask if you could clarify tonight in your discussion about the tower process, is just clarify that town meeting process. I think I talked to Steve about it at the breakfast, but I just think publicly, a lot of people are asking about it, and they're asking me, and I don't have the answers, so I would appreciate you clarifying it. Like, do you register, when you walk in, you register with a license? You might do a ticket process. Is that ticket given to them immediately? Can they vote immediately? Or do they need to stay for any presentations? If you're going to do the ticket process, I heard you might do a ballot.
When we get to that, I'll discuss that.
Okay, so those are my questions. Is that
Because there is a lot of confusion about this.
there is? Is there a cutoff for registration if people are coming in a little later? Can they vote immediately? Do they need to sit for the presentation? Can they leave? And do you need to be present to vote? Is there any way of voting if you're not able to make the meeting? And also, I looked at the tried to look at the charter to get the information, and I don't quite understand why Homeland Towers is actually presenting again. It dawned on me that they're not. Okay, okay. Because it dawned on me, like, the public hearing really was his presentation, right? Okay, okay, good. Because that also is confusion. So that's what I wanted to ask, if that was that. And also, I heard possibility that you might be changing the date. And I would just encourage you to please not do that. I think the residents are ready. We've been putting out a lot of info. There's a lot of chit chat. There's, I think a lot of people are getting the right information, and I think it's just time to vote. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it? Okay. Let's move on to announcements. First, we're going to have a presentation by Scott Hale. Scott is the chairman of the Planning Commission, and we're doing a plan of conservation and development that he is spearheading.
Yeah, good evening. The reason I'm here is really to promote a POCD workshop that we're going to have on Thursday, November 21st, 7 p.m. at the high school auditorium. So I really want to make sure that we get the word out on this. We have flyers that are out that's going all over through town, posted everywhere. I hope that we get a really good turnout for that. This is an opportunity for the public to come and give us their thoughts on what this POCD should look like. All right. Just to go back and give you a little background about what we've been working on. We hired a consultant, BFJ Planning, this past summer. They worked on the POCD for Newtown. We have established a core committee, a POCD core committee, which includes planning, the economic development, conservation, and zoning chairs are part of that. So we have a very diverse group of people with different perspectives as part of that core committee. We're meeting monthly, at least monthly, with a consultant and the core committee when we don't have a workshop. Another important point, we have established a website for this. So that is at brookfieldpocd.com. And there you'll get some background, some announcements as they come up, and some other documents that will be there. So that will be a source for information as we go through this process. And then just to touch on the timeline where we are, we have what's called the Brookfield Today, which actually I've seen a draft of, this, as the name implies, where we are right now with this thing. It includes some data, some other aspects of what Brookfield is today. That will be available before the workshop on the 21st. And then after that workshop, we're going to take in that feedback and really start to do the work and put, as putting together some of the chapters for the POCD. There will be another public workshop on April 22nd. And that one, at that point, we'll have more content that we worked on, and we'll be able to get some feedback from the public on that. Then we'll work on the draft of the document through the summer. There'll likely be a public hearing again later in the summer of 2025. Revisions after that, and then the goal is to have this whole thing completed by the fall of 2025.
Scott, for those people who are new to this or new
Yep.
to town, can you give a brief overview of what the POCD is?
Right. So that's a document that is established every 10 years. Ours is due on March of 2026. We're hoping to get this done by fall of 2025. There's one that exists right now. It guides us. It guides planning. Anytime something is referred to the Planning Commission, that's a document we look at for guidance and how to respond to whatever's been sent our way. It's really that. It's putting together a vision, right? How do we want to use our land in our town for the next 10 years? We're trying to develop some sort of crystal ball, what we're going to see. And so now it's up for renewal. And that's, we have a core committee, but we're getting input from the public. We're getting input from a lot of different boards and commissions. We have our consultant is conducting interviews with many different parts of the town, boards, commissions, employees, other aspects.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of input that comes into this.
So the POCD is a guide, if I can paraphrase you.
Sure.
Is a guide for residents and town departments to look at,
Yep.
to say, we've done the research, and this is where we want multifamily housing. This is where we want buildings, multifamily. This is where we want our businesses to be, right? And this is what we want the residential areas to look like.
Yep,
Right.
yep. And the one that we have
does that for
now
the whole
was developed 10 years ago. Of course, back then, what was the big point of emphasis was the town center, right?
Right.
And so that was a big part of that document. So now it's up for renewal. And so we're going to gather all the input and put this thing together.
Yeah.
So again, the POCD workshop, though, all the folks in town, we hope that we get people who rarely get out and go to these types of things. This is a good opportunity to come. It's going to be sort of an interactive event. It's not just sitting in a chair and listening to folks. You can get around. There's going to have different stations touching on different aspects of what potentially could be the POCD in place to provide that input. So again, Thursday, November 21st, mark it on your calendars, at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium.
And one of the primary things is the zoning board would use that as their guiding document to set up zoning laws or change zoning laws, right?
Yes.
And with the merger of the zoning and planning commission, that becomes even more critical. 'Cause
Right.
they're working together.
Right. Once this document is completed, they will use it as a basis to update any regulations they feel
Yeah, and
necessary.
that's why it's important to residents. Great.
Mhm.
Thank you. Let's hope everybody gets out there.
Please
And
do.
Whatever you send us, we will get out on the website.
Yep, we have a banner, and we'll hope
Okay.
spread the word. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
have a couple questions. Hi,
Sure.
Scott.
Hello.
Thanks for all your work on this.
Appreciate it.
I like the idea of the workshop. I saw that it was in the spotlight,
Mhm.
but that only captures like 1,000 people or so if
Mhm.
they open their email to read it. So,
Yeah.
and then it is on under announcements on the town website, but
Mhm.
very rarely does anyone access that.
Trying to spread the word.
So
Yeah.
how are you going to advertise it?
Just as what you've described, and get the word out wherever we can. We've got the consultants that are helping us with some of that, and we've got the town, the land use folks are helping as well to get the word out. If you got any suggestions, I'm open to it.
Well, I think, as you well know, it's
Mhm.
always the same cast
Yeah.
of characters
Yep.
for everything we do in this town, right?
Yeah.
So we do have a very different footprint happening, and there's been a lot of turnover through the COVID years, and with all the development, there's a lot of new people. So how do you capture that as far as their input for the future of the town?
Well, we've got 3 workshops right now. We've also had, on that POC, Brookfield POCD will be a place to also provide some input there. There are going to be surveys and things as well. So there's a lot of, that's a big part of it, is getting the word out to the public. So as far as marketing, I'm not a marketing guy, but, certainly we'll get the word out to wherever we can.
Yeah, you're right. This
I
has
mean-
been a difficult issue. I had a guy buttonhole me a couple weeks ago in the supermarket saying,
Yeah.
hey, you guys are just throwing this cell tower at us without discussing it ahead
Right.
of time. I said, sir, we've been discussing it every Board of Selectmen meeting. I'd like to find better ways to get out there. I think we need to utilize social media. We need to push it out to where people are looking at it, not just on the town website. Or, as you said, we send out Spotlight to 1,300 people, but a couple months ago, 300 and some odd actually opened it.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to communicate. It is. We got to find, I think, better ways to do it. But this is a good way to start, though. I think, right?
Yeah.
We'll get it out there.
I'll take any suggestions. So, yeah.
This flyer is a great thing. I mean, you could paste it up in businesses and some of the apartment complexes. I mean, use their managers to kind of help spread the word to the public, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds
I don't
good.
know, people are investing a lot of money to come live here, paying $500,000 for an apartment. They should be involved in.
Absolutely.
Sure that-
Yeah, we want to hear. We want to hear from people who never leave the couch. Come on down. This is a easy one to come down and be part of. Absolutely.
And then who was the consultant again? I missed that.
BFJ.
Do you happen to know when they completed Newtown's last POCD?
Recently, they're winding that down, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bob, do you have any? Nope. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Scott. A monthly agenda item. So we had scheduled a special town meeting for November 14th at Brookfield High School concerning the possible lease of land to Homeland Towers for the placement of a monopole cell tower. The first thing I'll say is a town meeting is the process by which, if we call a town meeting for the last 150 years, 100 years ago, if you called a town meeting, everybody would know that you're coming to vote. As recently as 1980, we had a town meeting for the school budget and the town budget. And it passed unanimously in a town meeting. I don't know how many people attended that meeting. But now we use the referendum for big votes because we have, 13,000 registered voters?
13,340.
So
I know that exactly.
So we wouldn't have a venue big enough to hold a town meeting, but a town meeting is where residents come and vote. If 3 people show up and 2 vote yes and 1 votes no, guess what? You just said it for the entire town. The process is you will come in, you will show your ID just like you would when you vote normally. You will get a ticket. You will enter the meeting. People can enter the meeting the entire time. There is no absentee. There is no remote voting. Town meeting is show up in person. That's the way the state statute works. Then we will have a short presentation for those people who are getting up to speed on it, and then we'll have a vote. And typically, you can either do a voice vote or a paper ballot vote. I personally prefer a paper ballot vote because people can then, hey, people want to vote. They don't want people seeing how they vote, and I think that's more accurate. I think if we did a voice vote, somebody would say, well, I think it was just as loud for the yes as for the no. I think we should just do the paper vote. We recognize that people want to come, they want to be heard. We're trying to advertise it. The one problem we've run into is that as part of this process, in order to fully inform the residents, we have to have a ground lease that we can show residents. Homeland Tower has not been able to show that to us yet, and they have not told us when they can get us set. That's a critical piece of information because it's how much money they would pay us, what they would charge us for use of the tower, and I'm personally am not comfortable having a town meeting without all the information available for residents. So I would make a motion that we hold off on, cancel. How do I say that? Cancel the town meeting until we receive that, and then we will, I would think, once we get that, we can have a special Board of Selectmen meeting to set a new date, get that out there. Because we can't get partial information for people. They can't vote on partial information. and we don't have a firm date from Homeland when they're gonna get that to us. The latest we can put this in the newspaper is 5 days before the meeting. That's very short notice. We usually like to get at least 2 weeks, and we're right there on that bubble right now, because we want people to be able to get that information. So my motion is to cancel this town meeting. And do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second? Any further discussion?
Yeah,
How do you
so-
feel about it?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about it.
Why? I'm confused. Why do you want to?
We
do-
don't have the
postpone?
ground lease from Homeland Towers. The ground lease is would be the lease document that we would
The
use.
50-year contract, you mean?
Yeah, right. And without it, I'm not comfortable moving forward personally. I
We
don't
had a
think
bunch of residents who asked us for that.
Yeah.
Right, when we did it, why don't we have it before we vote? And we agreed we were gonna get it before we voted.
Yep.
But I guess, have we gotten an indication from them that, at all, on what it will take for them to create that?
They said on Friday, I went back and forth with them a few times last week. I said, we want to have this ground lease by Friday. They said, we can't do that. There are a lot of factors involved on their side, and they did not give me a date. And that's what worries me. If they told me they would have it by Tuesday or Wednesday this week, I would say, okay, I think we're good. But they would not commit to a date. And I'm not comfortable moving forward without that ground lease, because it could be totally something we absolutely don't want to consider, right?
Anytime I think a municipality looks at a 50-year contract for anything, that's just absurd. We shouldn't even be entertaining the contract.
Well,
And the fact that,
these contracts are
there was so
typically
much
for that time period.
urgency behind all of this, it's been over a year now, and now all of a sudden we're waiting on them.
Yeah,
Sounds suspicious.
well, more argument for getting the ground lease. I'm not comfortable moving forward without it personally. And I'd like to, my motion is to cancel this town meeting and then reschedule as soon as we have all the information to give to residents.
Well, if they're not willing to give us a ground lease, or not willing to give us a ground lease that's acceptable to
Right,
us,
they may not.
with terms and conditions that protect the town and the residents.
Mhm.
I mean, somebody said at that last meeting that, what happens if, technology changes and that tower's not there? There ought to be terms in that ground lease that they would be responsible to take it down
Take
if
it
it's
down.
not being used.
Right.
So, that kind of thing.
That kind of thing.
And until they do that, we shouldn't even be considering this as a project,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And to me, that's kind of basic ante to get in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Right.
heard from the Conservation Commission, the Historic Commission, how many residents through letters and public comment at the public hearing. Like I said months ago, we should be making this decision as a board. It's a hard no, and you guys know that.
Yeah, we can argue. I think residents should get the right to vote on this, because the other option is this will go on private property. And somebody might accept their ground lease. It could go on the property directly north of the high school, which is not something I think most people want. That's a risk you
But
take.
it's
So residents can
collectively
make,
not our property, ours. Public property
Yeah,
belongs to
look,
all of us.
look, we shouldn't be debating the merits of the case right here. We're talking about whether we're willing to have a vote on this or not have a vote on this.
Well,
And I'm
the
not
res-
willing to have a vote on this.
We heard Mrs. Archer,
not
the
willing to-
residents are expected to have it on the 14th.
I'm not willing to have it on a vote on this until we have the basic facts.
I'm not either, so I think we should just move forward on that. I made the motion, Bob seconded.
By the way, and if the facts come in not good, I might not be willing to take it to a vote at all,
I agree.
okay?
We don't like that.
I wanna see what they were saying. They brought us a proposal that if they choose to bring us a very different proposal, it changes everything.
It does. I agree. I
So-
agree. And I don't think we would be following our duty to the residents if we go forward in town meeting with a huge unknown. As you said, in the ground lease, let's say technology changes. Are you gonna take this tower down, right? Let's say you no
What
longer
is it
use
you're
it.
willing to stand up and commit to the town, right?
Right.
What is it?
What is it? We
So-
wanna know that.
Well, we were ready to do that when we scheduled the meeting on the 14th, so
Yeah, because they told us they would have the ground lease.
it's
Now
very
they
simple. Do
haven't
we want the
provided it.
tower or do we not want the tower?
No,
The
it's not.
residents already have their calendar marked for the 14th. You're gonna confuse everybody, and the holidays are coming.
Yep, they are. But we cannot, with good conscience, bring forward a proposal that does not have all the information. That's my opinion.
You've been doing that.
No, I don't think
Then we
have,
shouldn't have
but-
had the public hearing until the contract was prepared.
So, the motion before the board is to cancel this town meeting. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So, the meeting is canceled, and as soon as we have that ground lease, we'll move forward.
Or not.
Or not, maybe. Yeah. At least we'll have another meeting to discuss it, right? Okay. Coffee with the community, because it's Thanksgiving, we're not going to have this. We'll have our next meeting with Coffee with the Community on December 28th. We'll update everybody on that date. Again, we say sign up for Spotlight in Everbridge. Please follow the Town of Brookfield's Connecticut Emergency Management Facebook page. Be aware, all residents, that the governor has put in a ban on all fires outdoors. Be very, very careful. There are fires in the middle of the state that they can't put out. They're running up and down the mountains. It almost looks like California. So please, please be careful. We do have vacancies on boards and commissions. Arts Commission has one. Building Code of Appeals has one. Commission on Aging has one. Energy Advisory Board has one. Farmers Market, we are looking for people to help us. The Parks and Rec Department will be taking over the Farmers Market, but we're looking for people to help us. Inland Wetlands Commission, we have one full member and 2 alternate members available. Municipal Building Committee, there is 1 full member and 1 alternate available. Planning Commission has 1 member and 1 alternate. Police Building Ad Hoc Committee, we're still waiting to get more members. WPCA has 2 alternate members. The Youth Commission has 3 alternate members open. Zoning Board of Appeals has 1 alternate member, and the Zoning Commission has 1 alternate member available. So residents, please, come help your town and join one of these boards. Monthly financial update, Marcia.
All right. These are all year-end 2025 reports, so almost 4 months into the year. We generally do transfers quarterly. There's 2 exceptions this month, an intra-department transfer. This is all within the fire department, and the reason we're asking this to be done is this is our first year with the fire department coming through the town, preparing purchase orders, and really having to stick to a line-by-line budget. So there's a learning curve there that they've been very good in working with us, and I would like to make the transfers within their budget so that no purchase orders get stopped. If the money's not in the budget, they can't do a purchase order, and then they have to start juggling purchase orders, and I just want to make it as easy as possible. So it would be $4,500 of an increase to different lines and $4,500 of a decrease to the fire department line.
And to be clear, we're
again,
not increasing their budget, we're just fine-tuning
We're
it.
just-
This is the first year they've been on Munis.
This is the first year they've been on Munis. This is the first year we've asked them for a line-by-line budget. Generally, we give them 1 allocation, and that is their budget. So that's a bit of a learning curve, and that's why we're asking for that to be out of cycle.
Is there something in writing, an agreement or MOA or something that between the town and the fire department for them to be in Munis and us doing their POs? What does that look like?
No, we don't have a formal agreement with them yet. We have agreed that they will use Munis to process all their payments that are coming out of the town. Bob is leading a group that we are putting together a more formalized structure between the fire departments and the town based on the EMS fire study. And we'll be asking them to give us an update probably in the next 3 months or so. Yes, Bob?
Yep.
To more formalize that, because that's a fair point.
So our finance department is working for the fire department now?
No, with the fire department. This is town money, the fire department's spending, and we've got them to agree to use our accounting system to track it and to make sure that things are going where they should be.
But they're the ones using it, right?
Yeah, they're the ones
using it, and they were on board with this and are still on board with it. We do have, I believe we had an initial write-up of what this would look like during our planning meetings. But so they're using it just like any other department would use it, that they're putting in purchase orders, they go through the approval process, and The goal is to, they were doing a fine job on their own, but that way we can talk about budget issues as the year goes on, instead of them feeling as though, oh my goodness, I need to have all of this in my budget because it's my only bite of the apple up front. We can talk about it as we progress, and they can say, oh, we're going to need more money because this truck had a flat tire, but we think we might have extra money here. So it would be bringing them in line with every other department.
Right.
For the town portion of the funding.
Right. Okay. I would make a motion to approve the intra-department transfers for year in 2025 as noted in the budget versus actual expenditure report the Director of Finance has given us. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries 3-0. Thank you.
And then the second is an inter-department transfer. And we wanted to do that just because it is something that's not currently in the budget, and we don't want to spend money before we have the approval. But we have a long-term leave in the IT department. We're still paying that individual through sick time. But there's certainly a need for more assistance there. That we have the registrars and early voting that's taking an awful lot of the IT time. We've got a new school that's taking a lot of the IT time, and so we would like to put in someone for 20 hours a week, or maybe it was 25 hours a week now, just for a few weeks to try and bridge that gap.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the interdepartment transfers for year end 25 as noted on the budget versus actual expenditure report and forward to the Board of Finance for their approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on that?
So, wasn't there part-time help already in the budget for IT department for this year?
Yeah, we combined the departments. Eric Conklin took over as the overall town Board of Ed, and Dan Secor was the IT manager for the town, and we hired a part-timer. Dan has been out. He's had some illness, and he's going to be out for a while longer because of that. So we're down one complete full person, and we're asking for part-time, somebody part-time to help fill in, because Dan is not available. Now, he's been coming in a few hours a week, but he still is not fully up, and we need the help now because we're down one full person.
Okay,
Yeah,
just,
I thought that was the whole idea of having the Eric coverage, if that was the argument, that when our IT person is out, Eric would cover. So why
Yes.
is that not sufficient now?
Yes. When our IT person is out for a week on vacation, not when our IT person is out for 3 months. That wasn't the understanding. It was occasional cover each other, be able to support each other for short-term vacation days, personal days, whatever they are. Not for, we didn't anticipate that we'd have somebody out for months at a time, and that's why we're doing this.
so I had two questions. What's the savings?
The savings is that I did the financial statements internally, and so we didn't have to pay the auditors for that. And so that's where we would use the money.
Okay, and and we can't hire this person until we approve it and the Board of Finance approves it?
Correct.
Okay.
So, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
You're a yes? Okay, 3-0. Okay, great. Anything else, Marcia?
You have the revenue reports, the two capital funds. Nothing is significant in any of those. We're not asking for any transfers this month.
Yeah. Any questions on the financial reports for Marcia?
Nope.
They all look good to me. We're running right where we want.
It's still pretty early in the year.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
early. Okay, great. Thank you, Marcia. Go to my next new items, none this month. Updates, Homeland Towers. I pretty much gave that update earlier. That's where we are. On Iroquois Pipeline, we did get this information from Pam and her husband, and we will, I think, I will certainly send them a letter and follow up. It's okay, I'll follow up with you tomorrow on that. Is that okay? And that was a lot of information you gave us tonight, so I'll follow up with you
I
tomorrow.
want to thank you for that. That was
Yeah,
helpful.
thank you.
So this letter that they've drafted and the second letter that they suggested, would those be more powerful to come from the Board of Selectmen or from you as first selectman?
Gee, that's a good question. I'm willing to send it as the first selectman, but if we send it as the board of selectmen, I would think it would have more power.
I'd be willing to entertain a special meeting in order to have us approve a letter that we can all
Okay.
put our strength behind.
Yeah, okay. So let me look at this. Let me talk to Pam, and then I'll come back to the board,
Okay.
right?
Who prepared this?
Pam,
This draft?
Pam, you prepared the draft? Yeah, Pam?
Are you an attorney?
So we'll look at this. We will have our attorney obviously look at it too to make sure it's acceptable to the board. That's a good idea. So I agree with you, Bob. I'll do that and.
I just think it would be more powerful as we were, this is the one topic we're in 100% agreement on.
Yep.
And the more strength we can put behind it, the better.
I
So-
agree. I agree. I agree
And
100%.
and time is a wasting because we only got this little 15-day
Yeah.
comment period, and
That's crazy.
we ought to make sure that that gets registered in that window, and
Yep.
yeah, definitely don't send it by snail mail.
No, we'll send
Because it won't get there.
We'll send it FedEx.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Consent agenda, we'll move on to that. I make a motion that the selectmen approve items A to E on the consent agenda, which includes no selectmen approval for routine matters. Board of Selectmen meeting minutes for 10/7, 10/10, 10/15, 10/24, and 10/26. Driveway bond releases, there's a bunch of them. I don't think I need to list every single one, do you think? It's in the agenda if
Nope,
anybody
that's fine.
really wants to see it. And I can't get my page. Excavation, one excavation bond for $2,000 and one bond release for 291 Federal Road in the amount of $15,747. Employee changes.
I don't think there is one on the excavation bonds. It just says that's the amount, but I don't see one listed.
Yeah. Okay. Employee changes. We have Andrew Lyle resigned effective 10/18. Joy Dvorsitz resigned as 10/11. And Dan May resigned effective 10/3. New hires and changes. We hired Jordan Gilchrist as a Parks and Ground maintainer. Stephen Yurzinski as a Public Works driver laborer. Catherine Monkton as a temporary part-time records clerk. And Justin Lyons as a police officer. And I think that's it for A through E. I made that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Tara seconds. All those in, any further discussion?
That 291 Federal, is that where they're demoing all those cottages and putting a
Yeah.
condo complex or
Yeah.
whatever it is?
Man, that has changed a lot,
Yeah.
very
It has.
quickly. Wow.
Wow.
I drove by it today. It was like, where did this hat come
Do
from?
we know if the state is gonna do anything about the road there?
They have to get an OSTA permit from the state to allow them to, they already have a driveway, so it's usually easier. But it'll be like Newbury Village, I don't think they're gonna make major changes to their on or off.
People fly through there because it's on that
Yeah.
curve going towards the cemetery.
How many units are there?
I'm sorry?
How many units?
I'm not sure.
I mean, under 100.
It's under 100.
Yeah, OSTA doesn't have to do a formal approval, but, was it Region 4, based in Thomaston, they still have to review the access.
Oh, okay. We'll double check that, but I'm sure they got that.
Yeah, it is right on a curve there.
It is. Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second by Tara. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye carries 3-0. Additional monthly items appointments. I would make a motion that the Board of Selectmen appoint Brian Zimmerman, unaffiliated, as a member of the Community Center Ad Hoc Committee as recommended by the Parks and Rec Commission with a term of 11/4/24 to 6/1/26. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second.
That's replacing someone from Parks and Rec who stepped down.
Right, Renee Santiago stepped down,
Yeah.
and Brian
So
is
this
on.
is one of the positions that we had designated as a
Right.
Parks and Rec person.
Right,
Okay.
right, right. That's correct. Renee stepped down, so the board has nominated Brian to take her place.
Did he change his affiliation?
Brian? No, I don't know. He's unaffiliated right now. That's what matters. So a motion, I got a second from you, right, Bob? Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will just make one comment.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a report from that committee at this meeting, just to hear what's going on, right? It's
I
been
agree.
kind of
Yeah.
quiet.
I agree.
Yeah, on that, along the lines, I'd like the NBC to come give us a report, the center ad hoc.
About the
committee,
school.
About the school, where they are, and I thought we'd ask them to come into our December meeting.
I think the residents would like to hear it.
I think so,
So
too.
I'd like to hear it.
Well, I'll ask both of them to come make a presentation. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, we said aye, right?
Yeah, we
did
voted.
that.
We did
Okay.
vote aye.
We did that.
And then I
I wanna
commented.
make sure. Youth Commission, I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen appoint Maria Colo, Vanessa Greenstein, and Lucas Evan as non-voting student members of the Youth Commission as recommended by the Youth Commission with a term of 11/4/24 to 8/31/26. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Great, I just think it's great that,
Point of order, it's Evan Lucas. That's it.
It's
like
not
the
Lucas
first-
Evan, it's Evan Lucas.
oh, it's Evan Lucas. We're
How do
sorry.
you know
I
that?
wonder why you would want to point that out.
He's probably watching, he probably wants.
Okay, now I look like the prize cassava melon with the treasures. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 This is great. The Youth Commission is really starting to step up. It's awesome.
Yep.
Okay. I'm on the Ad hoc Police Building Committee. We still have that table. We're still looking for unaffiliated and Democrats to offer to serve on that. And then number 10, we have correspondence addressed to the board. Everybody can look at that. And as a reminder, you know, if you want us to include correspondence, it needs to get to us on the Thursday by noon before the Board of Selectmen meeting.
I actually like to make a motion to discuss one of those correspondence that I've been having back and forth between Marcia primarily regarding the payment of a certificate for an employee
So what's your
that was
motion?
brought up to discuss that.
Okay. Do I have a second? Having no second, then we can't discuss it. We can't bring it up before.
Okay, well then I'll make a comment because it's on the agenda and Bob did that with another item on the agenda, which is the town did not follow any process and there's blatant favoritism going on
I'm sorry,
between.
Tara, we are not going to discuss that subject, so you can't make a comment on it.
Why? We're here to have discussions, Steve.
No,
That's
because
what
that's
these
how
meetings are for.
that's how these
The item
meetings
wasn't
work.
added to the agenda.
It is on the agenda under correspondence.
That's not an agenda item.
Not an agenda item.
So you said in an email, according to Steve, that we can't discuss it. So when can we discuss it? Because we're here at a meeting as a collective board. What's wrong with discussing it?
It has to be on the agenda properly.
Why is the town paying for continuing education for employees, for some people, for some employees, but not for other
That's the issue
employees?
itself, not a question about.
Well,
when
I
you
will
can
address
talk
that.
about
You're misunderstanding continuing educations and certifications. We pay for certifications for every single one of our employees. Mike Connors, our fire marshal, went and got certifications for 2 days last year. And town clerk, tax assessor, every single one of our departments, people need to be certified and recertified. We pay for certifications for every single one of our
So
employees.
for people who are
We do not
undergoing
pay for continuing
certifications now?
education except for the police. It's that
But there is
simple.
no job description that sustains the fact that you're telling this individual to go get certified.
Yes.
You created a position,
We're,
there's no job
Not on the
description.
we're not gonna
It's
get
not
into a
on the
big
agenda.
Yeah,
long.
point of order, it's not on the agenda.
It's
I move that we adjourn.
favoritism and fraud, waste, and
I
abuse.
second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
The other